So the Catholic bishops, the National Catholic Secretariat Office of the President has released a communique because the Ghana Catholic Bishops Conference held a plenary assembly in Damongo in the Savannah region from the 7th to the 14th of November, and they have made some interesting demands that we would like to reiterate, about 16 points. Some of them are favorite topics on this particular program. They talk about corruption, they talk about the environment, they talk about the economy as well. Governor and Kakra, I'll bring you some quick excerpts of these ones. Let me start from the point where they talk about there's justice and education delivery in Ghana. Points 13.1. Education is the crucible in which peace, civic virtue, and national cohesion are forged. Catholic schools have long shaped Ghana's moral and intellectual conscience, generally forming citizens who embody truth, fairness, and service to the common good. More so, justice in education demands equitable and transparent partnerships. We call for a clearly defined collaboration framework between government, missions, and educational units, one that acknowledges the church's enduring contributions while safeguarding the moral and spiritual ethos of Catholic schools. 13.2. A just system must ensure students' placement is free from bias or manipulation. Curricula should integrate academic excellence with civic education, religious instruction, and patriotic formation, equipping students to concentrate ethically and responsibly to society. One of Godfrey's favorite topics, pet peeve. Now, to sustain the church's educational mission, we re-echo our call for government to guarantee that at least 20% of student intake in Catholic pre-tertiary schools is reserved for Catholic students. That's well articulated here. Now, on point 14 is safeguarding our common home, the environment. The ecological degradation in Ghana is both a profound moral crisis and a spiritual challenge. The Synodal Church recognizes creation not as a commodity to be exploited, but as a covenantal partner deserving of respect and care. Recent data show that Ghana has lost over 5,252 hectares of forest reserves due to illegal mining, otherwise known as galamsey, in 2025, and 44 out of 288 forest reserves are now degraded. Additionally, about 75% of the nation's rivers are now polluted, primarily by mercury and cyanide, used in unregulated and irresponsible gold extraction. While we acknowledge the government's efforts so far, for instance, in establishing the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat (NIMOS), the persistent devastation of galamsey compels us to call upon our dear president to announce even more radical action against this menace, including the declaration of a state of emergency in high-risk mining zones, swift prosecution of perpetrators regardless of political affiliation, and the full reclamation of lands ravaged by illegal or irresponsible mining, and establishment of transparent reporting on water as well as food safety indicators. It goes on to talk about corruption and the CDS. So let me just continue and bring you some of that. But even before you get to corruption, we commend those chiefs and queen mothers who have fought courageously to protect their communities from the destruction of galamsey, and urge all others to emulate their good example. Additionally, we call upon the entire citizenry to own the fight against galamsey until our land and waters are sanitized and healed. Now, dealing with corruption. 15.1. Corruption erodes justice and peace, weakening public trust in state institutions and the moral fabric of society. Ghana's 2024 Corruption Perception Index score of 42 over 100 ranking 80th out of 180 countries underscores the persistent ethical challenges in governance and public life. It is absolutely imperative that both the Economic and Organized Crime Office (EOCO) and the Office of the Special Prosecutor exercise their mandates with complete independence and are seen to be so by all Ghanaians. They must display the moral authority required for their daunting task. Their investigations must be guided solely by evidence, rule of law, professional ethics without fear or favor, regardless of the political affiliation, social status, or economic power of those under investigation. Now let me just jump to 15.5. While acknowledging the relative stability of the city, we urge that this should be made to reflect in the prices of goods and services in the country. It goes on to summarize and call for the president to declare state of emergency. I like the consistency of the Catholic bishops. I mean, they were part of the civil society. They were present when the president met civil society to discuss its approach to illegal mining and solicit their support. They were quite impressed with the approach the president and his ministers had outlined at the time. But they have met again between November 7 and 14, and in their communique, they have observed that, look, there is the need for the government to, despite its efforts with NIMOS, focus on declaring the state of emergency again in areas that are proving to be, strongholds of illegal miners. The government must go on all fours again and deal decisively with the illegal mining. We'll be talking to one of the fathers from the Catholic bishops soon, but I like the consistency of the Catholic bishops.
That they are renewing the calls for the declaration of a state of emergency. For many Ghanaians, I dare say that they do not think that the fight against galamsey, as enumerated by the president a couple of months back and his ministers, has been successful. We continue to hear of reports of arrests of young men and women on galamsey sites. What we do not hear are the financiers, the campaigns, some of whom are alleged to be political actors or politicians. You follow the money. You find the source and you nip it in the bud. But if consistently we hear that 200 boys and girls or young men and women arrested on galamsey sites, I don't find that to be adequate. It doesn't give the sense of urgency that is required given the urgent problem. I think also it has been difficult, and critics made this point, difficult to understand how the current fight is framed in law, given that you have Article 31 laying out exactly what the president should do. So I think that the call from the Catholic bishops should be taking the renewed call, let me qualify that, from the Catholic bishops, which will be voicing many of the opinions of Ghanaians, should be taken seriously by the president, by the governors, by the institution fighting, or the institutions fighting galamsey. We need to feel that the state is being serious about the fight. The call has to be taken seriously, and perhaps given the kind of results, recently there was a report that the NIMOS task force was even being impersonated, and there was a intervention by state security, which was good. But it means that we need to revisit this plan. It appears it's not working, and perhaps the time has come for us to go to Article 31.
Okay. During his recent interaction with the civil societies, he mentioned that once the national security, personnel, those in charge...
I want you to ask Godfred why he appears fatigued. To comment on...
There's a reason I'm not looking his way yet.
Don't look my way.
I'm not looking his way yet because
he will not be the only Ghanaian who's experiencing that fatigue.
Yes.
Godfred.
People are enamored with their conversation, but the distraction is still ongoing, and the first results...
Before Godfred comes in, I also would want to know the status of the revocation of the LI 2462. We know that an instrument was laid in Parliament. We are not expecting that maybe in 2-3 weeks it's revoked, but it will be good to get an update from the sector minister. Godfred.
Well, look, I'm happy that the Catholic Bishops' Conference has waded into this again. I share Kakra's comments on the consistency, because without the consistency, we won't get much. We've been consistent at this for over a decade, and look how far we've come. We haven't moved much. Okay, we're still getting the updates. NIMOS seems to be everywhere, but I'm still saying, last week there were reports that one of the so-called kingpins had been caught, Yaya, in Osino. Hopefully, we see something out of that. We want to see more of those. But sometimes I am
This was the
hesitant.
gentleman who attempted
Who tried to bribing the,
right, right,
the
tax force.
when we tend to misuse the word kingpin. Everybody, look, when we say a kingpin, a kingpin is somebody who controls a large illegal grouping. You understand? And those are the ones that we are looking for. The ones who control regions, the ones who move millions of dollars. Not mid-tier, not low tier, and basically definitely not the bottom ranks. Okay, so that is the level that we are expecting. We are happy they are getting rid of the Changfans.
Yes,
the
the
EPA is
EPA
working on
Yeah.
that. We also need them to be consistent.
True.
With that, because for them to be consistent, they need resources. I see the Gold Board has been giving money, the ministry has been
some
giving
vehicles
money,
too.
and vehicles. All that goes hand in hand, but we still need to see more. We need to see more. When the outcomes are improving, we are the ones who will tell them that, look, we can
Yeah.
see
It's getting
that
better.
things are getting
Yeah.
better. So they should just keep it up. But I'm happy
Yeah.
the Catholic Bishops' Conference are
Yeah.
saying that line about where necessary, in areas where things are bad,
Yeah.
perhaps the state of emergency can be deployed in those areas.
The president in his interaction with the CSOs appreciated the consistency in the conversation and said that we should keep an eye on the government. We should keep talking to them about the work on galamsey. So that comes in here because clearly you could tell that if we take our eyes off it, the politicians would also lose the impetus to go on with the fight. But he did mention that the day the national security bosses will instruct him to declare a state of emergency, he was going to do that. I don't know if you recall. And it gives me the impression that those who are on the grounds doing the fight, who will trigger that clause for the president to eventually declare a state of emergency, have not found it necessary yet. Meanwhile, on the grounds, their men, including the very leader of the team that is waging the war, are being attacked by these men. So I don't know whether we sitting on the fringes are, I don't know whether we are getting ahead of ourselves, because from what we are seeing, from the water we are seeing, the forest reserves and the reports we have been reading and watching, it's obvious that the galamseyers are still miles ahead of the team that's supposed to be cracking down on them. We saw the attack on the EPA boss and some journalists since the president met with the CSOs, and that time, of course, they have tried to, as it is, clamp down on some of these warehouses where the chamfans are packed and all. But it appears that since the national security people have not given the president that indication to declare state of emergency, they feel they have a hang on this. But the Catholic bishops here are asking the president that there are still places where the galamsey is still, ongoing, and then he needs to take decisive action.
Look, I don't see this government doing anything meaningful by way of following this example that many have cited, that state of emergency is the way to go. Look, they won't do it. They won't do it. It's not about national security. Hasn't given me the, that's a cop out. They will not do it. As we speak, we are basking in the glory of becoming the leader in gold production globally. There's so much money that is what is this it or what?
Globally,
Africa, we are the
one,
yes.
number
So,
one, yeah.
and there's so much money that is coming in, and we say we are using that to support the economy and many other things. So, for a government that is serious about fighting illegal mining, if you see it, you know it. But what we have I don't see anything meaningful happening. They won't do it. It's just we have NIMOS has arrested a few people here, no proper prosecution, nothing happens. We are deporting the Chinese people who we have caught. That's all you would see.
Sky, let's jump onto the phone because we have Father Michael Kwak, who is the Director for Governance, Justice and Peace at the Ghana Catholic Bishops Conference, for a very quick conversation. Reverend Father, thank you so much for joining us. Now, in your just ended conference, you had a communique where you've spoken about a number of things, of course, corruption, and then you deal with corruption as well. Now, since your meeting with the president, I believe Catholic bishops were present, CSOs and the president, and your last conference, what is your reading of the fight against illegal mining?
Well, thank you very much, and good morning to you and your cherished listeners. Well, you see, the thing is that the problem has to be understood in its complexity, but also in its magnitude. We understand that the president has a lot to deal with, and not least the problem of galamsey. But you only have to go to the areas which are affected by galamsey and know that if 16 out of the 14 regions of Ghana have been taken over by galamsey, then basically the whole country is in dire straits. So it is not enough then to, as it were, just discuss it. Serious action has to be taken, and maybe it's true that it is not just government that has to work on it. That is why in the communique the bishops asked the whole of the country to own the fight. And it is a fight because those who are benefiting from it, the perpetrators and the kingpins, don't seem to understand what this whole thing means for the health of the nation and for the safety of the nation. And so, yes, we call on government to take even more stringent actions, but we are calling upon the whole of Ghanaians to also own the fight, because the people who do galamsey, the kingpins, they live in communities. People know them. So let them bring names. Let us name them. Let us deal with them. I just heard one of your panelists speak about that NIMOS will catch a few people and all of that. It is true. I mean, NIMOS is made up of human beings. They can do only as much. But if all of us as a nation see the devastation that this is bringing to us, then no one can sit unconcerned. So that is why the bishops are calling all of us, to rise up and fight together, because we either swim ashore together or we sink together.
Reverend Father, in the last meeting with the president, once again, I keep going back to that because it gives us a fair idea of the thinking of those who are running the state. He did mention that when the national security chiefs instruct him to declare state of emergency, he would do that. But for now, they are putting in enough measures to fight the canker. But in your statement, you have called on the president to declare state of emergency in high-risk mining zones again. Is it that your reading indicates something different from what the national security operatives may be reading? What are you seeing?
When the president speaks of his consultation with the national security, well, it is well within his right and within his responsibility to do so, because, of course, he needs to be briefed to be able to understand the security implications of declaring a state of emergency. But what the bishops are saying is that the matter we're talking about is not just a matter of national security. People are literally dying. People are dying. You go to the various sites. People are dying. There are mothers who are afraid to feed their children with various foodstuffs and vegetables coming from places. So we're not saying that the president shouldn't listen to those who are experts in security matters. We think he should listen to them, but we're also saying that in those high risk areas, because we're not asking for a state of emergency for the whole country. We're talking about the high-risk areas because people are dying by the day. We are killing ourselves by the day. We are poisoning ourselves by the day. So, what basically the bishops who are the fathers of us all in spirit are saying is that maybe His Excellency should also put a bit more pressure on his security aspects and to see where we could do very limited, targeted, state of emergency to get things to a certain level. Because you see, the conversation is a very, very serious one. So I mean, it's not as if the bishops are insensitive, no, but because people are dying, and when your house is on fire, well, you try to put it off first before you think of other things. So we understand the president, and we see that he's under a lot of pressure himself. We understand that, and we pray for him and we support him. But we also would want him to put a bit more pressure on those who can advise him to see alternatives to solving the problem. So we are not asking for a state of emergency across board. We say the high-risk areas, and we have a conversation about that. I think that is the question to explore.
Right. Father Michael, and in the last couple of weeks since the president's encounter and assurance that there was going to be all buttons will be pushed in fighting this save national security, that is when declaring state of emergency, that is when it becomes necessary. How is the Catholic bishops rating the performance of the government in fulfilling that promise?
The honest truth is that we haven't started to say assess just the government's performance. We have assessed the seriousness of the problem. I'm sure that if we listened to the government and its operatives, they could give us detailed information about what they've done and what successes they've chalked or what difficulties they've met. So that is there. Our concern is about the problem itself. So whilst of course you would see that even in the communique we commend the president and the government for setting up NIMOS and whatever efforts that they are being able to do. But all we are saying is that currently what we have is not completely cutting it. It's not solving the problem the way we hope it should be solved. So we are not just wanting to criticize government. No, that is not it at all. In fact, we acknowledge the efforts being made by government. All we are saying is that what we are doing, either as government or as a people, is not enough to arrest the problem, because the problem is debilitating, is killing. It is killing. So that's all we're saying. It's not a fight. It's not a statement against the government. We're saying that we all have to now fight even harder. And if we are calling on the whole of the citizenry to rise up and to own the fight, then it is only fair that we also call on government to even do more. So I think that is where the conversation is.
Father, in your statement, for example, you cite that we've lost 5,252 hectares of forest reserves due to illegal mining, that's galamsey, in 2025 alone. And then out of 288 forest reserves, we've had 44 of them now degraded. Additionally, your statement says that about 75% of the nation's rivers are now polluted, primarily by mercury and cyanide used in unregulated and irresponsible gold extraction. Given this fact, it's clear to me that the Catholic bishops are not impressed with the performance of the government in the fight against galamsey.
As I've said, and I'll repeat, it's not about being impressed or not. We're saying is that more can be done. As it is now, whichever efforts which have been put in place already might be working, but they are not working as hard and as effectively as we think it should. So that is where the conversation is. It is not that we are impressed or not impressed. We are saying that the problem is far from being handled. That is where I think our assessment is. So it is in relation to our collective effort at fighting this, and not merely to criticize government. Of course, government has responsibility to protect the people and property of this nation. So of course, responsibility on doing that first lies on the father of the state to be able to do that. And as we say, we support him in every good effort that he is doing to be able to help us solve it. But we are saying that even more needs to be done because the fight is far from being won.
Right, let's explore other issues you raised in your communique. The very last point, for example, you talked about the relative stability of the cedi. However, you urged that it should reflect in the prices of goods and services in the country. What is the reading of the Catholic bishops with respect to this?
Well, we want to give commendation and praise where it is due. The cedi we know has been relatively stable, in fact has been doing well, and we needed to acknowledge that. But having done that, we think that we should move from the macroeconomic level to the micro, so that as we say here in Ghana, it will reflect in our pockets. So basically, we are commending government for efforts in dealing with the stability and the strength of our currency. We all know that the cedi celebrated its 60th anniversary not long ago. So we commend government for government's effort in helping to stabilize the free fall of the cedi's strength. But we're saying that people still need to feel that this has happened, that they feel it in their pockets. Not merely in the figures that are turned out, but that the ordinary person on the street in the market would feel that in fact the cedi is doing well, so that's what we want to say.
Father, you certainly have a lot of Ghanaians under your purview. That means that from your reading, many are not feeling the performance of the cedi in their pockets. Is that the reading you're getting?
Well, I think that is for all of us to see. As I say, the government has to be commended for helping stabilize the cedi. But a good number of people still say, well, you're able to. So we say, you've done well. Let's see how we manage it to reflect in the day-to-day life of the Ghanaian. So that is just an extra that we hope that government is able to help to be able to make this felt by the ordinary Ghanaian. So that's all. While commending the government for it, we think that it is even more important that that the macro level gives a bit more of impetus to the micro level, that people feel it in their day-to-day life as they go to the market and they realize that if the cedi is doing well against the dollar, well then prices ought to be seen to be at least stable and not going up. So
Father, right, well, Father, to what extent would you say that private citizens and business people also have a role in helping the everyday Ghanaian feel the performance of the cedi? Because the market queens, the business people, the spare parts dealers, they are the people who set the prices, and they keep telling you they had old stock. It's been more than a year. They've probably finished, they've probably run out, restock, but they are still keeping their figures at the same prices. So if you had the chance to speak to the business person who is deciding the cost or the price of produce or services, what appeal will you make to the Ghanaian business community?
Thank you. Well, I think that this is a very important question and a conversation to have, because we can't put the blame on government, say regulation or effort, because in the end, as you said, those who are stakeholders in this economy would also have to play their part. So our appeal to them is this: that you couldn't possibly make the money alone by still keeping the prices at a level that benefits you alone. The economy grows when we all together stir the pot and rather share the benefits of our economic activity than just a few benefiting. So if the government has done its bit in stabilizing the city, we are pleading with our brothers and sisters who are stakeholders in the market machinery to also let that reflect in their prices. That's how we build a common good. The president cannot do that alone, and so all of us citizens have to do our bit. So we'll appeal to our brothers and sisters who sell. If they have difficulty in bringing the prices down because of old stock and all of that, well, let them have the conversation with the experts who are able to help them manage the prices against the new strength of the city. It is not just enough to say, well, we bought it at a certain price, and so we are selling it at a certain price. So we will plead with them. We'll plead with them to let government effort also show in the prices of things. So we can only plead with them. We can't force them.
Yeah.
But we would only plead with them to price the common good over their own parochial interest.
Thank you for adding your voice to this very important conversation. Finally, in your communique as well, I noticed that you captured the very important issue of conflicts in Binyeri, Boko, Kalba, Bole, and Nkwanta South. I'd like to give you the opportunity to reiterate these points once again.
What we've said as a conference is not new. The conference has always spoken that Ghana is the only country we have, and the good or the peace or the prosperity of one must be the concern of all. So is the suffering and the pain of everyone. So we are pleading with all the factions in these conflict areas to see that not only is their own life valued by all of us, we want them also to value the lives of everyone, because we are good together, but we destroy ourselves if we don't seek the good and the peace of others. So there is nothing that a good and honest dialogue cannot solve.
Very well.
So we call on our brothers and sisters who are in these conflict areas to come to the dialogue table, to talk, to be honest, and to be frank, so that solutions which are near to everyone's good will be found. And whilst we wait for them to come to the table, we want all those who can help, stakeholders who can help bring relief to those who have been displaced, to do so. The church will do its part.
Right.
The church then calls on all those who can bring a bit of relief to those who are affected by it, to help them find a bit more of comfort and solace.
Father Michael Kweku, thank you so much for engaging us this morning. He is the Director for Governance, Justice and Peace at the Ghana Catholic Bishops Conference. We just went through the communique they released, a very recent one touching on several issues.